Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a real conversation. Not the kind where you smile and nod while silently agreeing to things that hurt your spirit. Not the kind where you pretend everything is fine just to keep the peace. But the kind of conversation that shakes you awake. The kind that forces you to look in the mirror and ask, am I really living for me? Or am I surviving for everyone else? Because too many of us, yes, you, me, and people you know, have confused being kind with being a doormat. We've been taught to say yes, even when our souls scream no. We've been conditioned to avoid confrontation, to stay agreeable, to keep quiet even when we're breaking inside. And somewhere along the way, we started calling that strength. We started believing that self-abandonment was a virtue, that if we just keep giving, maybe we'll finally be seen, maybe we'll be loved, maybe we'll be enough. But let me tell you something powerful. You already are enough. You don't have to earn your worth by overextending yourself. You don't need to carry the weight of other people's expectations just to be accepted. You don't have to betray your truth to keep others comfortable. That's not love. That's not kindness. That's self-neglect, dressed up in a smile. This message, this journey we're about to take is not just about being too nice. It's about what that niceness is costing you. Your peace, your power, your purpose. Because there's a silent price you pay every time you prioritize someone else's comfort over your own well-being. There's a hidden wound you create every time you bite your tongue to avoid making things worse. But who said your silence is peace? Who said your suffering is noble? This is your wake-up call. To every woman and man who's ever felt drained after doing the right thing for the wrong people. To every soul who's ever walked away from a moment they should have owned just to avoid being labeled too much. To everyone who's ever dimmed their lights so others could shine a little brighter. It's time to stop. Because you weren't put on this earth to be agreeable. You weren't born to live small so others could feel big. You were made to be whole, to be seen, to be respected. And that begins the moment you draw a line in the sand and say, I matter too. So no more guilt for protecting your peace. No more shame for setting boundaries. No more apologizing for finally choosing you. This isn't just a speech. This is your moment to rise. To reclaim the power you've given away piece by piece through every forced smile, every swallowed word, every yes you didn't mean. Let's begin. The hidden cost of being too nice. There's a fine line between being kind and being too nice. And too often, that line gets crossed in silence. You start off wanting to be helpful, to be supportive, to be there for everyone around you. You think that saying yes to every request, staying quiet during disrespect, and giving endlessly without expecting anything in return makes you a better person. You think it makes you stronger, more likable, more loved. But over time, being too nice starts to backfire. You see, when you're constantly available for everyone else, you start becoming unavailable to yourself. Your goals get pushed aside, your needs become invisible, your voice fades into the background, not because it's not important, but because you've trained the world not to listen. And worse, you've trained yourself not to speak up. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Being too nice is often rooted in fear. Fear of rejection. Fear of confrontation. Fear of being seen as selfish. So you avoid saying no. You avoid setting boundaries. You avoid asserting your truth. But in doing so, you invite people to take you for granted. You teach them that your time, your energy, your kindness, it's all free, always available, and never protected. But ask yourself, at what cost? You're not being strong by staying silent. You're not being kind by letting people walk all over you. That's not kindness. That's self-abandonment. That's shrinking yourself for the comfort of others. That's giving up your voice so someone else doesn't have to face theirs. And let me tell you something, you don't owe anyone your silence. You don't owe the world endless yeses that break your spirit. You don't have to prove your worth through how much pain you can tolerate, how many favors you can do, or how much disrespect you can endure with a smile. There's a difference between being a good person and being a people pleaser. A good person has boundaries. A good person knows when to say yes and when to walk away. A good person loves others and loves themselves just as fiercely. When you stop being too nice, you begin to discover your power. You realize that no is a complete sentence. That setting boundaries is an act of self-respect. That walking away from people who drain you isn't rude, it's necessary. You begin to protect your peace, value your time, and demand the respect you deserve. So don't confuse being nice with being weak. And don't let the fear of disappointing others keep you from showing up for yourself. Because the moment you stop being too nice is the moment you start truly living. People will use you if you let them. Let's be brutally honest. Some people don't want your kindness. They want your compliance. They don't care that you're always there. They don't appreciate the way you go out of your way to help them. They don't value your loyalty, your sacrifices, your silence. They simply expect it. Why? Because you've made it a habit to give without limits, to forgive without accountability, to be available even when it's inconvenient, even when it hurts. But here's the reality. People will use you if you let them. Not everyone has a heart like yours, and not everyone sees your goodness as a gift. Some see it as a weakness. They take your kindness and twist it into something they can control. They test your limits, then keep pushing. They know you won't say no, so they don't even bother asking. They just take your time, your energy, your peace. And every time you allow it, you reinforce it. You teach people how to treat you by what you tolerate. If you tolerate being spoken to with disrespect, don't be surprised when it becomes the norm. If you give endlessly but never speak up when your cup runs dry, you'll always be the one left empty. If you never demand reciprocation, you'll never receive it. It's not selfish to expect respect. It's not rude to protect your time. And it's not wrong to remove people from your life who only show up when they need something. There's a hard truth that nice people often learn too late. Not everyone you help will help you back. Not everyone you stand by will stand by you. Some people will smile in your face and drain you behind your back. And the longer you keep making excuses for their behavior, the longer they will keep taking advantage of your silence. You deserve to be treated with the same love and care you give so freely. But you have to draw the line. You have to create boundaries. You have to decide that your peace is more important than their approval. Letting people use you is not humility. It's self-neglect. It's not noble. It's dangerous. Because one day you wake up and you don't even recognize yourself. You're exhausted, bitter, lost, and all because you were trying so hard to be nice to people who wouldn't even show up for you on your worst day. You have to learn to say enough. Enough giving with nothing in return. Enough excusing bad behavior. Enough sacrificing yourself just to keep others comfortable. When you stop letting people use you, you take your power back. You stop living for others and start living for yourself. You stop bending just to fit into places where you were never meant to belong. And in that moment you finally choose you, everything begins to change. Boundaries are not barriers, they are protection. You've been taught to believe that setting boundaries is harsh, that saying no is cold, that putting yourself first is selfish. But let me tell you something powerful. Boundaries are not walls, they are doors. And you get to decide who walks through them. Being too nice often means allowing people to cross lines that should have never been crossed. It means letting things slide, biting your tongue, giving people second, third, and 10th chances when they've shown you they don't deserve them. It means putting your own feelings aside just to keep the peace, even when that peace costs you your joy. But here's what no one tells you. Every time you ignore your own needs to serve others, you chip away at your self-worth. And over time, it adds up. You begin to believe that your voice doesn't matter, that your needs aren't important, that love has to come at the price of your self-respect. Enough of that. Boundaries are how you show the world that you respect yourself. They're how you protect your time, your energy, your emotional health. They're not a punishment to others. They are an act of love toward yourself. You teach people how to treat you by what you allow and what you stand up for. When you don't set boundaries, you become a sponge for other people's chaos. You absorb their drama, their pain, their responsibilities, and eventually their disrespect. But when you establish clear lines, you begin to shift the balance. You stop being a doormat and start becoming a gatekeeper of your own life. Saying no doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you an honest one. Saying, I can't do this right now, doesn't make you unkind. It makes you self-aware. Walking away from people who only take and never give doesn't make you cold, it makes you wise. Let me be clear. You can still be a good person with a kind heart and have firm boundaries. You can love people deeply and still not allow them to mistreat you. You can be generous without being exploited. You can be available without being used. Nice doesn't mean naive. Kind doesn't mean careless with your soul. Boundaries are not cruelty, they are clarity. They tell people what you expect, what you will and won't tolerate, and what the consequences are if they cross the line. It's not your job to fix everyone. It's not your duty to be constantly available. Your role in life is not to carry other people's burdens while yours go ignored. You are not a doormat. You are not a backup plan. You are not an emotional punching bag. You are a human being with value, with needs, with limits. And the moment you start honoring those limits is the moment you reclaim your power. So set those boundaries. Speak up. Protect your peace, because you're worth it. People-pleasing is self-betrayal. Let's talk about the truth behind people-pleasing, because too often, when you're too nice, what you're really doing is abandoning yourself in the name of approval. You say yes when your heart is screaming no. You smile when your spirit is exhausted. You show up for everyone else, but feel invisible in your own life. Why? Because you've been conditioned to believe that keeping others happy is your responsibility. That if you just please everyone, you'll be liked, accepted, and valued. But let me tell you this, people-pleasing is not kindness. It's fear in disguise. It's the fear of rejection, the fear of confrontation, the fear of being disliked or misunderstood. And that fear drives you to bend over backward for people who would never do the same for you. It leads you to silence your truth, to maintain false peace. It traps you in relationships where your value is tied to how much you can give, not who you truly are. But every time you choose their comfort over your truth, you betray yourself. You shrink, you disappear a little more, and eventually you wake up feeling bitter, resentful, and drained. Because deep down, you know you're living for everyone else but you. Let me be clear, you don't owe anyone your peace of mind just to keep them comfortable. You don't have to apologize for having needs, dreams, or opinions. You don't have to be agreeable all the time. You don't need to sacrifice your well-being just to be seen as easygoing. Real strength is not in how much you can tolerate. It's in how boldly you can stand in your truth. People-pleasing is a trap. It never ends. The more you give, the more people expect. The more you overextend, the more they demand. And slowly, your identity becomes wrapped up in who you are for others instead of who you are for yourself. But it's not your job to be liked by everyone. It's your job to respect yourself. It's your job to show up authentically, even if that means disappointing people. Because guess what? Disappointing others is a part of growth. You're not here to fit into anyone's mold. You're here to break free from the patterns that keep you small and reclaim your power. The people who truly love and respect you won't need you to bend over backward to prove your worth. They'll honor your no just as much as your yes. They'll support your boundaries, not punish you for them. So stop betraying yourself to earn love that should never require your silence or suffering. Choose you. Choose your sanity. Choose your truth. Choose the kind of life that reflects your worth, not one that constantly erases it. You were not put on this earth to be a people pleaser. You were put here to be real. And being real means sometimes saying no, sometimes standing alone, and always putting your soul first. You teach people how to treat you. There's the powerful truth most people don't realize. You teach people how to treat you. Not with your words, but with your actions. With your boundaries. With what you allow, what you tolerate, and what you let slide again and again. If you're always giving, always saying yes, always putting others before yourself without setting limits, people begin to expect that. They don't see it as kindness anymore. They see it as standard. And over time, your generosity becomes an expectation, not a blessing. Your silence becomes their permission, and your lack of boundaries becomes their playground. You cannot keep showing up for people who wouldn't do the same for you and then wonder why you feel used, undervalued, or invisible. It's not their fault for taking. It's yours for never stopping them. Now, that's not to say the blame is all on you, but the responsibility is yours. You are responsible for enforcing the standard you want in your life. If someone constantly disrespects your time, your energy, or your values, and you keep allowing it, then you've taught them that it's okay. You've taught them that you'll stay. regardless of how they treat you. It's time to unlearn that pattern. Being too nice doesn't just affect how others treat you, it chips away at how you treat yourself. Every time you put someone else's needs ahead of your own, without balance, you're telling yourself that your needs matter less, that your voice isn't as important, that your worth is tied to your ability to make everyone else happy. But that's a lie. And it's a dangerous one. The moment you start enforcing boundaries, the moment you stop explaining yourself, the moment you begin to stand up for your value without apology, everything changes. People will either rise to meet your new standards, or they will exit your life. And that's okay, because the right people will never require you to be less of yourself to keep them. You understand this? Boundaries are not walls. They are bridges to self-respect. They are how you protect your peace, your purpose, and your identity. They aren't selfish. They're necessary. And when you stop being too nice, when you start being real, something beautiful happens. You attract people who actually value you, not for what you do, not for how much you give, but for who you are. You create space for genuine relationships built on mutual respect, not convenience. You begin to feel empowered instead of drained. You become the kind of person who walks with dignity, who speaks with clarity, and who demands nothing less than authenticity, both from yourself and others. So stop teaching people that you tolerate being walked on. Start showing them what self-respect looks like. Because when you know your worth, the world learns it too. You are not here to be everyone's doormat. You are here to rise, to walk in power, to honor yourself, even if it means standing alone. Stop being too nice, start being real. So let's bring it all home. You've heard the message loud and clear, and now it's time to live it. The truth is, being too nice isn't a harmless habit. It's a quiet thief. It robs you of your time, your energy, your voice, and worst of all, your identity. When you constantly say yes to others, you're silently saying no to yourself. When you avoid conflict to keep the peace, you create a war inside your own soul. And when you let people use you, you slowly forget what it means to honor your own worth. But here's the powerful shift. You don't have to keep living that way. You can be kind and assertive. You can be compassionate and clear. You can love deeply and still protect your peace fiercely. Boundaries don't make you hard. They make you whole. Refusing to be used doesn't make you selfish. It makes you strong. Saying no doesn't make you cruel. It makes you conscious of your limits and your value. And choosing yourself doesn't mean you're turning your back on the world. It means you're finally turning toward your truth. The people who genuinely love and respect you will not be threatened by your growth. They won't abandon you when you stop overgiving. They'll meet you at the level of your boundaries, or they'll quietly remove themselves. Either way, you win. Because peace is better than approval, and freedom is better than fitting in. No more performing, no more pretending, no more punishing yourself with politeness. You have the right to take up space. You have the right to say no. You have the right to walk away from people, places, and patterns that dim your light. This is your life, your energy, your story, and you deserve to be the main character, not the background support for everyone else's drama. So from this day forward, decide that being too nice is no longer your identity. Decide that your voice matters. Your feelings matter. You matter. Let your no be strong. Let your boundaries be loud. Let your love for yourself be non-negotiable. Because the world doesn't need more people who break themselves to be liked. The world needs more people who are brave enough to be real. And you are that person. Final words. Stand tall, speak truth, set boundaries. Choose peace over people-pleasing. Choose power over pretending. Choose you. Because once you do, everything in your life will begin to rise to meet the version of you who finally remembered their worth. And that version, that's the real you. Are you ready to step into that power?